Hello, my name is Deb. I work with Halifax Health Continuing Care, and I'm here at the New Smyrna Beach Regional Library this morning to share with you some information on 5 wishes. The 5 wishes document is an advance directive. It is commonly referred to as a living will. When I leave today, I will leave a short stack with the library so that should you want to come in and take a look at the document and start the process, you'd be free to do that. There is no charge for this. So what is the 5 wishes? 5 wishes is basically, like I said, an advance directive. It's a living will. It is not the will that distributes assets. So if you're looking for a will that wants to leave your rings to one niece and your bracelets to another, this is not the document that does that. What it is a conversation starter with you and your family. It starts that hard conversation of what happens if I cannot speak for myself because of a medical inability. It's a plan for your future. We do all kinds of plans for our future, whether it's next week or 10 years from now. And this is an aid for much further down the line for you. And it's also, I tell folks, it's kind of like a gift to your loved ones. You know, I can pull on personal experience and let you know that, for example, my mom didn't fill out a 5 wishes. And when she was no longer able to speak for herself, she had 3 very loving daughters, but all 3 of us had different opinions on what she would have wanted. So this clears all that up. It makes for a much easier transition at a very hard time. Who should use the 5 wishes? Well, anybody 18 years old and older. And you say, gee, 18 is really kind of young, isn't it? I had a conversation about 3 years ago with a pastor who said one of his most challenging and frustrating and sad moments was when he had to help counsel a family whose 19-year-old son was on life support. They didn't know what he would have wanted on all fronts. They didn't know if he wanted to be maintained on life support. They didn't know if he wanted to be cremated, buried, where, church service. They didn't know anything, and they really struggled to come up with the, quote, right answer so that they could honor their son properly. So anybody who's over 18 years old. And more than 35 million people have executed one of these. So it's very well circulated. It is circulated across the globe, of course, in different languages. I have English, and I also have a Spanish version, should anybody feel more comfortable with the Spanish language. And it works so well that as we've started using it more and more across the globe, we have people endorsing this, lawyers, doctors, hospitals, hospices, faith communities, retiree groups, homeowners associations often ask me to come talk about this living will at one of their meetings. It expresses all you want and provides basically a roadmap to your family. It was created with the help from the American Bar Association's Committee on Law and Aging. So while I am not an attorney, attorneys were consulted in the drafting of the document. Having said that, the 5 wishes document is accepted in the vast majority of states in the United States. Somebody asked me once, they said, gee, I'm going on a cruise in the Greek islands. Is it going to help me over there? I can't answer that. We have a lot of different barriers that could affect. Number 1, we could have a language barrier. Number 2, we could have a cultural or custom barrier. So, but I think you'll find that most doctors do want to honor the patient's wishes in any way that they can. I would caution you that if you're a popular snowbird, spend 6 months with us and 6 months in another state, check with your other state to see whether or not it's honored. And it may very well be that it is honored, but it does require notarization, because in the state of Florida, your signature does not have to be notarized on this document. Can you change the 5 wishes? Of course you can. This is not something that's written in stone or carved into the wet cement on the sidewalk. It can be changed at any time, and our document tells you how to easily change it. We're going to cover 5 wishes that are in this document this morning, and then I'll close with a couple of tips for you. Wishes number 1 and 2 cover medical wishes. So wish number 1, if you're no longer able to make healthcare decisions for yourself, you are telling that you're going to identify someone to make those choices for you. The document does not come alive, so to speak, unless 2 things happen in the state of Florida. 1, your doctor finds that you are no longer able to make healthcare choices, and another healthcare professional, after assessing you, agrees. If both those things have happened, then this document comes alive and your wishes are spoken through your healthcare agent. Now remember, this is if you can't speak for yourself. If you can still communicate well enough to convey your thoughts and wishes, this will be an aid. This will explain maybe if your speech is very slurred, or you have had some type of an accident where you can barely eke out 1 or 2 letters on a pad. So this will still help you express what it is you want. Choosing your healthcare agent is the most important decision you're going to make with this document. You are going to want to choose someone who's over 18. You're going to want to choose someone who is strong and very capable and very willing of carrying out your wishes, whether or not they would choose it for themselves. Who should it not be? Well, it should not be somebody who is divorced or legally separated from you. It should not be somebody who is not able, for whatever reason, to make those hard choices on your behalf. It should not be someone who has 10 or more people that they are acting as a healthcare agent for. Remember, you want them to be there at your bedside when you need them. Which brings me to another point that says it should not be someone who lives far away. They should be local and quickly accessible to you. And it should not be your healthcare provider. I've talked to so many people that say something like, well, my granddaughter's very smart. I'd like for her to be my healthcare surrogate. She's going to be a doctor. Later in the conversation, I find out that the granddaughter's only 15. That's not going to be appropriate. If you tend, like a lot of folks, to say, well, my eldest son is the executor of my will and he's going to do this, he may not be emotionally prepared. He is the firstborn and he may be the smartest and the strongest and the most able to be an executor, but he may not be able to make those tough decisions that you are directing him to make. Now, what can this healthcare agent do? There are a lot of things, and on this one particular page, it's just lists and lists of things, but I'll highlight for sake of time. They can make choices for you about surgery, about the beginning and stopping of medication, beginning and stopping of treatment, life support. They can consent to your admission to a healthcare facility, assisted living facility, skilled nursing, memory care. They can hire and fire folks to take care of you. So they can also make the decision to request whether or not you receive food and water, fluids, additional fluids, and any other treatments to keep you alive. If you liked Uncle Joe to do this job today, but 5 years on down the road, Uncle Joe has gone off and we don't know where Uncle Joe is, or you've had a falling out with him, or perhaps Uncle Joe has passed himself, you can easily change your healthcare agent, and this gives you directions on how to do that. Wish 2, the second wish about medical wishes, gets a little bit into someone who's probably a little bit more critical. It talks about, do you want to be in pain? How much pain? Do you want doctors to admit or omit anything, any kind of treatment? This is the section where you need to involve your doctors. It talks about life support treatment. Do you want it? Do you want limited? What does that really look like? Because remember, medically and in the hospitals, that may look different than what you're thinking about. So the next time you schedule your calendar with an appointment for your primary care physician, ask the scheduler to please build in a few extra minutes. You want to talk to your doctor about what life support treatment looks like with a patient, what it means, and then the next logical conversation to have is one about a DNR, a do not resuscitate. In the state of Florida, there are some very strict guidelines, and telling someone you don't want to be resuscitated is not good enough. You should tell them you want it in your medical record, and it needs to be executed in detail, certain details, like a certain color yellow paper, believe it or not, and must be signed by the doctor. It covers, in this section, whether you're close to death, if you're in a coma and not expected to recover, permanent severe brain damage and not expected to recover, or it gives you room to fill in any other condition that you don't wish to continue to live. Wishes 3, 4, and 5, people often spend more time here than anywhere else because it comes to the emotional, spiritual wishes, personal wishes. Wish number 3, how comfortable do I want to be? And that includes a myriad of things. Do I want to learn or listen about hospice enrollment? Do I want to have religious or spiritual readings? Do I want someone to read my favorite poems to me, even though I appeared not to be responsive? Wish number 4 is how do I want people to treat me? Do I want to be visited by a chaplain or clergy? Do I want someone in my church to come visit me? Do I want my neighbors and the homeowners association to know that I'm sick and people can come visit? Do you want your hand held? Do you want prayers by your bedside? Do you want your favorite music played? I'm a big 1960s Motown fan. I certainly don't want to hear my husband's favorite country western songs playing if I'm not feeling too well. Here also is the place where you would designate if you would prefer to die at home, if possible. And most importantly, I have heard of people going into different nursing homes and skilled nursing, and while the care is excellent, the wristband says, for example, William Smith. Well, he's been called Billy Boy his whole life. So make sure you understand, that the people around you understand what you really prefer to be called. My given name, and I love it, is Deborah, but I often go by Deb. For me, I would answer to either one. For some folks, though, if they've been called Billy Boy since they were 3 years old, they would prefer to hear that. And lastly, wish number 5 is what I want my loved ones to know. It covers a whole myriad of things. Do I want them to know that I love them, that I forgive them, that I am asking for forgiveness of them for something I did or didn't do? After my death, how would I like my body disposed of? Do I want a cremation? Do I want a burial? Oftentimes, churches will have a little guidebook, it's about yay big, to walk you through the funeral process at their church. And it oftentimes gives you a place to fill in what hymn you'd like, who pallbearers should be, all those things. And in this document is a place for you to write down the person who knows your funeral wishes. And in conjunction with that church pamphlet, it's a really good guide for those left behind. I bet we never thought about our social media, but that's one of those things. What is the disposition of your social media when you're gone? Do you want your Facebook closed? What do you want with that? And that's becoming a bigger and bigger question these days. After you answer all these questions, the last couple of pages you're going to be signing. You're going to be signing in front of 2 witnesses. Witnesses cannot be under 18. They cannot be your healthcare agent. They cannot be your spouse. So you're going to want to say to your neighbors, for example, I filled out my 5 wishes. You don't need to know what's in them. I'm asking you to witness my signature. So you open it to the last page where there is no personal information, and you sign it, and they sign right after saying that they witnessed you. So after you complete this, you're going to make copies. You're going to go to your wonderful library, who's the resource for everything, including a copier. So you're going to go and make some copies and give a copy to your healthcare agent. You're going to give a copy to your primary care doctor, any specialist like a cardiologist, your sons and daughters. Maybe it's the person who's closest to you and sees you every day, which is your neighbor, when he picks up his paper and you pick up your paper at the same time, and you wave to each other. Maybe that person needs to know if you don't pick up your newspaper, something might be awry. And in this document also, it tells who has copies of the 5 wishes. Very importantly, on the last page, it gives you a wallet card so that you can fill out that you have one of these, the location of it, who may have it, and some contact information. You're definitely going to have to put one in your home. Do not, please, put it in your safe deposit box. Do not, please, put it in your fireproof safe in the back of the closet. All these things require passwords, security measures, keys. We don't have time for that. If you're not responsive and cannot speak for yourself, we want you to get the care that you want as quickly as possible, and having to involve another person and a key and a security detail, it's going to just slow things up for you. This is such a short explanation of what a living will is. I can tell you that Halifax Health Hospice and Continuing Care is so committed to this document for families, for patients, that not only do I go and speak about it in different places like libraries and YMCAs, homeowners associations, veterans groups, but we do an annual event at our hospital, the main campus in Daytona, and we make this available to every single employee. There's almost 4,000 of them. So we make sure when we set up for a few days that every single employee, new or who's been around for 35 years, that they have executed one of these and they have it available in their home for their spouse or family to see. It's been a pleasure to see you today, even though it's virtual. And I want to thank the New Smyrna Beach Regional Library for inviting me to share this information. I love this library.